The Sabbath was made for us. And the idea that God has given us rest as a gift to us. There's not a checklist of spiritual obligations or religious duties that he expects me to do. He is a good father.
Of course, I'm so fired up to have you back, Bronwyn, my favourite South African in the world, even though we're better at rugby than you are. But that's okay. That's just an aside. Okay, so you are really, and I tell you this behind the scenes, like one of the most holiest spiritual people that I know. You are my go-to person when it comes to spiritual formation. So we could not have a Summer Sabbath series without hearing from you, because as all of our listeners now know, that this is a great challenge for me, because I often used to think of sort of Sabbath. I come from a Greek Orthodox background, that we're all going to Mount Athos. We have to be a priest that's on the top of the mountain sitting on a pole. And, and I used to think that's great. If I wasn't married and didn't have children and didn't have a job, then I could do Sabbath. And so I basically have got my Sharpie and my notebook, and I'm learning from everyone along with everyone else this week on, what does it mean to you? How does it work for you? Because you've got a full-time job as well, and lots of part-time jobs, and you're a wife and you're a mother. And so we want to learn from you today.
Goodness.
Go
That's
for it.
assuming I have anything worked out. Okay, the topic of Sabbath is just a very long conversation between me and God and what that looks like. But it started about 25 years ago, that will date me, when I was in law school and realized that I just could not keep up with the workload, with the emotions, with the spiritual heaviness of what was happening in my life at the time. And I struggled with maybe several weeks of chronic insomnia. And I knew that I needed to sleep, and I could not sleep. And at some point, somebody said to me, you need to practice Sabbath. And I thought, I don't even know what that looks like. And so as a college student in law school, I began the practice of trying to treat Saturday night like it was the night before I was going to school. And I would get everything I needed to do through a Saturday night, so that on a Sunday, I could go to church, I could go to the botanical gardens and go and take a nap under a tree, I could go and visit my mom. And by Monday, I would pick up work again. And I thought, I have to just trust God. I have to trust. And this was a huge faith step for me, that there is enough time in 6 days to do what he's asking me to do and to rest. And within 2 or 3 weeks, I began to sleep again. And in fact, my grades at law school got better. I got more work done, and I began to be the person that people would, like my classmates would tease me, like they would phone me on a Sunday afternoon, we've got a final tomorrow, and we guess you've already finished studying because we know you would only work until Saturday. So it became a point of teasing. But God showed me very early that blocking off time for recreation was something I needed, body, soul, and spirit. Now that's changed over the seasons as I've had children and family, but that invitation to be intentional and to trust that there is enough time to do the things that God has called me to do and enough time to be obedient to rest is something that he continues to invite me to.
You used a really interesting phrase in there just now. You said blocking off time for recreation. And normally when people talk about Sabbath, they say blocking off time for rest. And so talk to me a little bit about recreation and what you do and how recreation actually can be rest.
That was a very unintentional word, but I think my theology is peeking through. So it's super interesting to me that the pattern that we have in the world so often is that we work, and then we collapse into rest, as if that's what we do, when we've earned it or when the work is done. But that is not the pattern that God started with in Scripture. In creation, he started with rest and work. The first day that Adam and Eve were created, they rested, and work came out of that. And that idea of working out of rest is interesting. So I love the idea that part of what we're doing on Sabbath is being recreated. We're being refreshed, we're resting, but there's something about the recreation. And so some aspect of rest, some aspect of something that's fun and fulfilling, that is a blessing when Jesus says the Sabbath was made for us. I think that's part of what gives us the flexibility to build a Sabbath, because you can ask, what is what is recreation for me? What is fulfilling and life-giving for me? Because I discovered very early that like scrolling and refreshing my screen is not refreshing, right? And I need to pick
Wow.
I need to pick things that actually make me feel better when I've done them instead of just numb and depleted. It's a good catch.
You just have to go, hang on, that is one of the best things that I've heard. Can you just go a little bit more, dive in a bit deeper on that? It's not refreshing.
You've had that experience, right? Where you've done something which is escapist and numbing because you're exhausted. Like you're Netflix binging, or you've gotten like stuck in reading a book, or you're scrolling on your phone, and you're so tired that you can't check out of it. And you feel like, oh, this is just my downtime. And you discover that 1, 2, 3 hours is gone, and you feel worse. You feel worse. And I, at some point, thought, oh, well, there's a pun that I like. Like, I keep refreshing my screen, but I'm not refreshed. My screen is refreshed, but I am not. And so I need to make some different choices about what I do with my downtime every day and downtime every week. Pay attention.
I'm loving this. Yes. And again, I'm asking everyone this during our summer series because it's very important to me. And it's important to me that our listeners understand that God understands and that we're not trying to superimpose something on everyone. So again, I'm a single mum with a couple of kids and a couple of jobs. And what does Sabbath mean for me? I can't take this ad infinitum time off. I can't Saturday night at this time stop this because the kids are going to be there tomorrow morning and I've got to get them through school and I've got to pay the bills. Okay, so how does that person go, this conversation is for me and God meant this principle for me as well?
I invite people to think the Father that looks at you with compassion, He's a good parent. If you watched your kid running around frantically and you said to them, just take a breath, have a sandwich, take a snack, let's take a walk, let's reset. Like you can picture yourself doing that with your children. What is God the Father when He looks at your life and sees you running around frantically so tired? What is He inviting you to do? And try that. I think that that's part of the Good Shepherd's invitation to us in rest. I mean, there were times when I had 3 kids, 4, and under, and I remember people would joke on a Friday. They were like, thank goodness it's Friday. And I would be like, Friday is the same as Saturday, it's the same as Sunday, it's the same as Wednesday, 3 a.m. because you're like 24/7 on, okay? But then I was like, do you know the things that I really, really hate doing is cleaning bathrooms and doing laundry. So there's going to be a day in the week where I just don't feel like that's on my to-do list. When I'm going to do more of the things that are fun with me and the kids. You know what's fun is when we laugh at dumb stuff. And so we're going to go and take a walk to the petting zoo and go and look at kittens because it makes us all happy, right? And that will be part of our Sabbath activity. So sometimes it's just like shifting your to-do list so that the day feels refreshing.
I love that you brought that up because it was actually a struggle for me for a long time after I got married to figure out what rest looked like. Because my husband is the extrovert of all extroverts. I have never met someone as extroverted as my husband, and I am an introvert. And so I'm not even joking. One year for his birthday, I bought him a set of passes to go to these developmental league baseball games that were like by us. It was a farm team for the Cleveland Guardians. And I bought him a set of tickets and I said, and as part of this gift, you can take your best friend that is not me to these games. I bought myself 10 evenings away. Yes. I was like, go have so much fun without me. And I promise to not be upset with you about it. But having my kids around, and I can't do the same thing, right? I can't do that. But one of the things that I found was that if I take them with me to go hiking or to go do a trail, they can just run free and be children because there's nothing that they can get into, right? They can pick up leaves, they can roll in the dirt, they can do whatever they want. It's such easy parenting on the trails. And that it took me so long to learn that. And so I love that you just said that, because somewhere there is somebody listening to this right now who's going, oh my gosh, I've never thought of that. And you, like, I hope that they learn that lesson from what you said so much faster than what I ever did.
Yeah.
So tell me then, for Sabbath, rest, recreation, does that mean you put more time aside for some of the questions have been like, do you read the Bible more? Do you put worship music on more? Does that component have anything to do
Oh,
with
I feel like
your
the
Sabbath?
answer should be yes, but the truth is actually no. Um, like I work on Sundays, right? So
Yeah.
Sabbath for me is not Sundays anymore. Like I'm preaching and I'm at church and we're hosting and I'm teaching and leading classes. But I do believe in practicing the presence of God. And so there is something about when I'm going outside or when I'm taking a long bath and reading in the bath that it does feel like the Father's good gift to me. So
So for someone that doesn't know, you just use the phrase practicing the presence of God. Can you just do a dumbed down version of that for people that go, what does that even mean? What does that even
okay,
mean?
so at the very, very basic level, I mean, we know that God is present everywhere, but we're not always aware of his presence and we're not always paying attention. You know, I can be in the same room as my husband all day and not have paid attention to him for 2 minutes. You know, we can just live life side by side. And there's something about just paying attention to somebody else's presence that makes you notice the thing that you notice. And so part of my growing awareness is just saying, Lord, whatever it is I'm doing, what are you seeing while I'm seeing these things? What do you want me to notice? And being aware of his presence in a particular way. And I have regular, irregular, whatever, practices of reading the Bible and journaling, and those happen as often on a Sabbath day as they do on any other day. But again, Jesus said that we were not made to serve the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for us. And the idea that God has given us rest as a gift to us. So it's not a checklist of spiritual obligations or religious duties that he expects me to do. He is a good father. And if I enjoy my children being well rested and delighted and enjoying good things, how much more does the Father not love it when we have a good nap and when we delight in, leaves turning beautiful colors? I think he sees all of those things. And so part of the Sabbath is just saying, God, can I enjoy this day with you?
I'm with you. I mean, that for me, I have to be intentional. Like I go through my diary. I love hiking when I get a chance. I mean, like a good hike where I'm going to be out for 8 or 9 hours and listen to an audible book and just look around me. So that's the same thing. I do what I would normally do in terms of my Bible reading, or what it's. I don't do a whole lot extra, but what I do with great intentionality is. I enjoy God. And for me, I love nature, walking along the ocean, but I have to plan it. And because my travel schedule, so everyone's got their thing, other people have got young children. I've got a crazy travel schedule. So I plan for it. I think one of the most helpful things you said was even when you were back in college and you were just going through a cycle, go see my mom, I could just take a nap under a tree. That's my thing, is that I go, I have the option. That's the day. Yeah, I don't even often do it, but if I want to take a 1 or 2 hour nap, that is the day that I don't even think in my head, just knowing that I can has set me free. I don't even know what to say. It's just like, and Nick knows, and the kid, everyone just knows. It's just my thing, and there's a freedom. And I'm trying to think if I've ever really even done it, but I know that I can, and that's sort of my litmus test of how I even know that I'm having one, because I'll just go, oh, I don't know, I might have a nap. I mean, it just comes out of my mouth, but I think that's the state that we're kind
Yeah.
of looking
And I
for.
fight for it though. I fight for this on the regular. And some of the best advice that I've received about this was someone who was like, take out your calendar. Maybe you don't have a whole day. Maybe you have a couple of hours that you'd like to spend. Go ahead, do it now. Take out your phone. Had us to put out our phone, pull up your calendar and write something on your calendar. And then when someone says, can you do this? You can say, oh, I have something on that day. It's like,
I think that's
literal
brilliant.
blocking.
No, I do the same thing. I texted my PA this morning, like at 6 o'clock, God bless her. And I'm like, I'm going through my calendar, but it's a lot of that is for this reason, because I've had an unbelievably, even for me, unusually busy 6 weeks, where I'm just like, I can feel myself getting a little bit out of whack. So I'm pulling out my calendar literally at 6 a.m. this morning going, I have just got to find a window that I am just, and that I know ahead of time. Even just, it needs that extra, a little bit beyond what I normally, when I have my, I'm going to have some time here, I'm going to have some time. But I think even just doing it, suddenly there's a relaxation. It's not like I'm in this never ending, oh my word, when am I ever going to get this second? When am I, and it then impacts every other part of our lives. So the best thing, this whole summer series so far, Bronwyn, you're winning. The something is the thing.
That's wisdom received and passed down. That is not for me. Can I add one more
Rachel,
thing about Sabbath?
Please do.
One thing that I realized in the last couple of years as I've thought about Sabbath is sometimes the reason that I haven't rested is I feel like I ought to be available to everybody all the time, that's part of being hospitable, or that's part of what's required in ministry. And realizing that I need to rest, one, because God designed me that way, but actually that it's good for other people to see me rest. Like, it models something healthy when I say no to a reasonable request, has been really, really freeing. And we do not have to say yes to every obligation and every request. That our children see us resting, that the people in our community see us resting, is actually a form of discipleship. And it's not something we should feel guilty about, because resting is not the same as laziness. It's actually obedience. So we can say no to some things.
That's so good. Bronwyn, I feel like there's 1,000 more questions that I could ask you. But I want to ask you one thing. I know that you just recently went on a solitude retreat. And so can you just give us a short answer, like as short as you think you can do it, but also, make it good. What would you say? What is the difference? What is the difference between a silent retreat and a Sabbath? Because I know for me, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I have this retreat coming up. That's when I'll rest. Like 100%. That's just what I do. And I know that's bad practice. So rebuke me, please, right now. What's the difference between that silent retreat
That's interesting.
and an actual Sabbath?
I think that a Sabbath is like a rhythm that I'm in regular life relationship, like paying attention to my husband every day when we check in or whatever. And the silent retreat felt like a vacation with God, like designated time of togetherness. And we don't take vacations on the regular, like every weekend or every day. It is something special, but it's time set apart for the purpose of just being together and developing intimacy. And so it felt to me like, a date weekend with God in the non-creepy way, but just presence, right?
Yeah. Okay. And on that note, non-creepy, date with God. Just this is the Sabbath series that you've never heard, everyone. This is exactly I just want you to see the reality of women in leadership, and I know that this is resonating with everyone. So, Bronwyn, thanks truly for your insights. And for those of you listening, like, Bronwyn is really my go-to theologian, my go-to just practitioner for so much of what we do at Propel, so much of what you see, and all of the articles over the years have all passed through her hands. So I want to say thank you. You're just such a gift to me and to us, and for all of our listeners. Now, wherever you are, if you're like me, then you're on a treadmill or you're on a bike, but there's others of you driving, and I'm sure you're the ones only listening and not watching. So I've got that. And then, wherever you are, sitting in bed or just at home, I just want you to know that we so appreciate you. We're so grateful that you've tuned in. I know we have a lot of laughter, but I hope that, you can take away something that is really just going to help you in your everyday life. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining us here on Propel Women podcast. And I cannot wait to chat with you again next week. So we'll see you then.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to get notified every time a new video is posted. We are so glad that you're here and look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you.